If I ask you this question, who is currently the most powerful tech CEO in the world, I'm pretty sure your answer would either be Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, or Jeff Bezos. Or you might even say Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google. But sorry folks, your answer would be wrong. Sure, each of these guys has taken a turn at being the alpha dog in the tech industry, but none of them can claim this title right now. So, who is he? In this video, we'll reveal to you the new tech CEO currently ruling the tech world quietly. I know it's a bit shocking that Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg have been pushed out of the helm of leadership in the tech world, but if you think about it, it does make some sense. I mean, Musk is now a polarizing figure. Zuckerberg sold the world a social media dream that, frankly speaking, has turned into a nightmare, and Jeff Bezos ejected himself from being Amazon CEO simply because he has a new dream of making rockets, and he also wants to frolic around with his fiancée on his yacht. But if that's what makes him happy, good for him. Anyway, the point is that at the beginning of 2023 there was a vacancy in who would claim the title of boss of the tech world, and when ChatGPT was released, it seemed Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, might claim the title. But he didn't, because he hasn't been in the game for a long time. However, the AI boom of 2023 has brought a new guy to the head of the tech table, and he did it without the usual fanfare. You can even say that he slipped into the ranks. This man is none other than the CEO of tech company Nvidia, Jensen Huang, and yes, he is the new boss in town. Jensen Huang has never been among the top 5 richest people in the world like Elon, nor is he a household name like Bezos or Zuckerberg, but his company Nvidia currently beats Tesla, Facebook and Amazon by far in terms of valuation, earning him a place in the trillion-dollar club, a club with only 6 members whose companies are all valued above the trillion-dollar mark. And the reason for all this is that Huang is a patient monopolist who saw the future of artificial intelligence 10 years ago, took advantage of it, and is currently reaping the rewards. But first, how did it all start? Jensen Huang was born in 1963 in Taipei, Taiwan, where he spent the first 10 years of his life. However, in 1973, Huang's parents decided to send Huang and his brother to live with their aunt and uncle in the US due to the social unrest in Southeast Asia at the time, before relocating to the US themselves. According to Huang's 2002 interview with Wired, this period was an interesting time in his life because his aunt and uncle, who were also immigrants, mistakenly sent Jensen and his brother to Oneida Baptist Institute in Kentucky, a reform school instead of a prep school. Although the kids were tough, sometimes entering into fights with pocket knives, Huang admitted he loved it there. Eventually, Huang and his brother moved on to Oregon to join their parents, where he graduated from Aloha High School. In 1984, Jensen received his first degree in electrical engineering from Oregon State University, and according to him, that was the perfect year to graduate because the first Mac computers had just been released, ushering in a new era in personal computing. After graduation, Huang worked in a variety of roles at LSI Logic and Advanced Micro Devices, both of which were chip companies soon after he bagged a master's degree in electrical engineering from Stanford University in 1992 and left LSI to build Nvidia. At 30 years old, Huang drafted the paperwork for Nvidia with 2 of his friends, Chris Malachowski and Curtis Priem, at Denny's restaurant in San Jose, California, in 1993. It was the same restaurant where Huang worked part-time when he was still a student, and the introverted and shy Huang learned how to be more outgoing. The idea was to create a company that built graphic chips for personal computers, which was quite fantastic, but the process of getting funding was not easy, so for the next 6 months, the 3 friends gathered together and did nothing except talk and have lunch. Eventually, the company was incorporated with $200 each, giving them a 20% stake in the company. The company's main product is its graphics processing unit, also called a GPU, a circuit with a powerful microchip at its core. When Nvidia first started, the company only sold these GPUs to video gaming companies, and everything was going well, at least as well as it could for a small startup until the year 1997, when the company almost went broke. At the time, Nvidia was working on an order from Sega, a key player in the gaming industry, to build graphics chips for its gaming console. However, Microsoft unveiled a new texture mapping approach that would make Nvidia's product incompatible with Windows 95. This was a blow to the company because it was barely surviving and needed the money from Sega to keep floating. But Microsoft's announcement meant that it had to go broke instantly by stopping production of the card, or go broke later by building an inferior product that wouldn't bring much sales. However, Huang refused to give up, and he thought about a third option, which was calling the CEO of Sega to tell him Nvidia would no longer work on the order, and humbly requested full payment, which didn't even make sense. But somehow Huang did just that, and surprisingly it worked. Sega paid in full even though Nvidia didn't fulfill its part, and according to Huang, he still doesn't know why the CEO of Sega agreed. But whatever the reason, that payment was enough to sustain the company for the next 6 months. 2 years later, in 1999, the year Nvidia went public, the company unleashed the GeForce 256, a graphics processing unit that not only opened new possibilities for the tech world, but also placed Nvidia on a path to greatness. Nvidia's GPUs did not just revolutionize the gaming world, they also changed the game for computer-aided designs, mobile devices, and scientific computing, which Huang began to market in 2006. Then came 2013, when Huang, based on promising research from the computer scientific community, decided to bet Nvidia's future on artificial intelligence, which had disappointed investors for decades. Brian Catanzaro, the lead researcher for deep learning at Nvidia, later stated that he had doubts at the time, but 10 years later, Huang's bet had paid off. 2023, the year of artificial intelligence, unlocked the vast potential of Nvidia's GPUs for powering AI software. And as every tech company is jumping into the AI revolution, Nvidia is right in the middle of it. One Wall Street analyst put it like this: there's a war going on out there in AI, but there's only one arms dealer, Nvidia. What this means is that instead of manufacturing chatbots or any AI products such as Tesla's self-driving cars, Nvidia produces the chips that make these AI products possible. And since AI is here to stay, Nvidia is not going anywhere either. It's no wonder that when it was revealed that the game-changing ChatGPT chatbot was trained on an Nvidia supercomputer, it spurred the largest single-day gains in stock market history. In June 2023, the company hit the $1 trillion market capitalization mark, making it the 6th most valuable company in the world. However, 9 months later in March 2024, Nvidia took the tech world by surprise by hitting and surpassing the $2 trillion market capitalization, thereby beating Amazon to become the 3rd most valuable US publicly traded company. And the amazing thing is that it's showing no sign of stopping. This gain is also translated into the net worth of Jensen Huang, which soared to $81 billion, making him the 20th richest person in the world. So Jensen Huang may not be the richest guy in the world with a company whose product is a household name, but his foresight into the AI revolution has certainly paved the way for him to be the most powerful tech CEO in the world. At least for now, until someone else rises to claim that title. What do you think about Jensen Huang? Do let us know in the comment section below, and remember to like, subscribe to, and share this video.
Singapore, a nation known for its gleaming skyscrapers, advanced economy, and cultural diversity. But beneath this bustling, vibrant exterior lies a quiet crisis, a ticking time bomb that could change the face of the country forever. Singapore's fertility rate has plunged to one of the lowest in the world, sitting at just 1.04 births per woman in 2022. What's driving this decline, and what does it mean for the future of this thriving city-state? By 2030, 1 in 4 Singaporeans will be aged 65 or older, putting immense pressure on healthcare and social services. This raises a question: how did we get here? alongside its declining birth rate, Singapore relies heavily on immigration. Investment around the world helps sustain its population and economy, but immigration comes with its own challenges. And social fabric. Some experts argue that more radical measures are needed, like even greater financial incentives or cultural shifts that make parenthood more appealing. Ultimately, Singapore's future depends on its ability to adapt to these challenges while maintaining its resilience and innovative spirit. Singapore's fertility crisis is developed nations, including the United States and Japan, face similar issues. Singapore's approach offers valuable lessons on balancing economic growth, work-life harmony, and population sustainability. Singapore's falling fertility rate is a wake-up call for nations worldwide. It's a reminder that economic prosperity must go hand in hand with policies that support families and foster a sense of community. As the world watches how Singapore navigates this challenge, one thing is clear: the solutions we create today will shape the societies of tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Epic Wealth Tales for more insights into the stories shaping our world. What do you think about Singapore's fertility crisis? Let us know in the comments below.
The fascinating world of gold prices and their potential impact on the US dollar. Gold has always been a significant player in the global economy, but recent trends have sparked some intriguing questions. Is the surge in gold prices killing the US dollar? Let's break it down. First off, let's talk about India. Gold is a massive part of Indian culture and economy. Just like the American dream is to own a home, in India, the dream is to own gold. That's more gold than the central banks of the US, Germany, Italy, France, and Russia combined. For perspective, the US holds around 8,100 tons of gold, while Russia holds 2,332 tons. But Indian consumers alone hold a staggering 21,000 tons of gold. Now, in the past 6 months, if you've been watching the markets, you might have noticed something wild happening. The Indian stock market hit $5 trillion, overtaking Hong Kong. At the same time, gold prices in India reached an all-time high, soaring above 70,000 rupees. While the Sensex returned 8.33% and the Nifty 50 nearly doubled with a 99.92% return, gold prices shot up by an astonishing 16.16%. So why is this happening? One key reason is that central banks around the world are on a gold buying spree. Over the past 2 years, they've been stacking up tons of gold. For instance, India recently moved 100 tons of gold back from England. In recent years, India bought 69 tons, China bought a whopping 314 tons, Poland purchased 130 tons, Singapore grabbed 125 tons, and even the Czech Republic added 75 tons to their reserves. This global trend of gold hoarding has driven prices to unbelievable levels. So, why are central banks loading up on gold? What are the global factors at play, and should you consider investing in gold too? Back in the early 20th century, the world had already endured World War I, and by the late 1930s, World War II was in full swing. The infamous Treaty of Versailles, signed after World War I, set the stage for economic turmoil, which eventually contributed to the outbreak of World War II in 1939. The entire world united against Hitler and his regime, leading to the most devastating conflict in human history. At this time, the British Empire was a global superpower with vast colonies spread across the world. However, the economic toll of World War I and World War II had significantly weakened Britain's wealth. By the early 1940s, Britain's debt to GDP ratio had skyrocketed from 25% in 1914 to 220% in 1920, and further to 270% by 1942. Similar economic distress was seen in other major countries like France and the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, the United States played its cards wisely. Initially, the US stayed out of direct involvement in these wars, acting instead as a supplier of essential goods. America, untouched by the war's destruction, became a prosperous land of plenty. Cheap fuel and technological advancements powered a booming economy. American industry was perfectly positioned to dominate both domestic and global markets after the war. Here's where it gets interesting. While other empires were fully engaged in the war, diverting all their resources to the battlefield, the United States focused its capital and manpower on becoming a major supplier. They provided cotton, wheat, brass, rubber, automobiles, machinery, and thousands of other goods to the war-torn countries. This strategy led to one of the greatest economic booms in US history. US exports skyrocketed from $2.4 billion in 1913 to $6.2 billion in 1917. In the 1940s, the world had already experienced the devastation of World War I and was in the midst of World War II. The infamous Treaty of Versailles, which ended WW1, had set the stage for economic turmoil, eventually contributing to the outbreak of WW2 in 1939. By profiting from these costly wars, the US accumulated vast wealth. While other economies lay in ruins, the United States ended up holding 75% of the world's monetary gold. US gold reserves surged from around 2,000 tons in 1910 to nearly 20,000 tons by 1940. This unprecedented wealth set the stage for the United States to solidify its economic dominance. In 1944, the US convened a conference in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, gathering representatives from 44 allied nations. The goal was to establish a new international financial order and promote economic cooperation post-war. This meeting resulted in the Bretton Woods Agreement. Under the Bretton Woods Agreement, these 44 countries agreed to peg their currencies to the US dollar, which was in turn pegged to gold. This arrangement meant that 1 ounce of gold was worth $35, or 28.35 grams of gold equaled $35. The US promised to redeem dollars for gold, effectively backing the dollar with gold. This gave countries confidence in holding US dollars, knowing they could exchange them for gold. So, why did these countries agree to the Bretton Woods Agreement? The main benefit was stability. By pegging their currencies to the US dollar, countries gained a reliable exchange rate system, which facilitated international trade and investment. Additionally, backing the dollar with gold provided a sense of security, as gold was universally recognized as a valuable and stable asset. This system helped the US dollar become the dominant global currency, underpinning international financial stability for decades. The Bretton Woods Agreement laid the foundation for the modern global economy, with the US at its center. The Saudis were not wealthy in the early 1940s because their oil production was just beginning. During World War II, Italy bombed Saudi Arabia, targeting American oil facilities, which hampered the Saudis' ability to produce oil at full capacity. In desperate need of protection, Saudi Arabia sought help from the United States. In 1945, US President Franklin Roosevelt recognized the immense global importance of oil for the coming decades. He held a crucial meeting with the King of Saudi Arabia, resulting in a pivotal deal. The United States agreed to protect Saudi Arabia from future attacks and supply them with military equipment. In return, the Saudi king agreed to sell oil primarily in US dollars. This deal significantly boosted the rise of the Middle East and cemented the US dollar's role as the dominant global currency. By the 1960s, when oil-producing countries formed OPEC, all member nations started selling oil in dollars. However, recent geopolitical events and economic practices have led to a gradual decline in confidence in the US dollar. During the Russia-Ukraine war, the US froze $300 billion of Russian assets and $7 billion of Afghan assets after the Taliban took over. This move alarmed countries like China, which feared similar actions against their $797 billion in US Treasury bonds. As a result, China and other countries started buying large amounts of gold as a hedge against the potential devaluation of their dollar reserves. The US's frequent money printing has also contributed to the declining confidence in the dollar. For example, the US printed nearly $1 trillion during the 2008 recession, $4 trillion in 2020, and about $2 trillion in 2021. This excessive money printing leads to global inflation and reduces the value of the US dollar. Consequently, countries with significant dollar reserves, like China, see their reserves value diminish. Gold, being a finite and non-printable resource, retains its value, making it an attractive option for countries looking to preserve their wealth. The limited availability of gold, enough to fit in a 23-meter cube, ensures its value remains stable. Thanks for watching. Please like the video, press the subscribe button, and also drop your thoughts in the comments section.